Hello, coaches. Welcome to the Coach C Basketball Analytics Podcast. In today's episode, I want to break down what I look for in the first few possessions of a game and how quickly you can identify whether a team is actually applying data-driven thinking on both ends of the floor or simply running actions and reacting. When I analyze a game, live or on TV, I usually know within the first few possessions what kind of basketball I am about to see. You can tell very quickly if a team is operating with a framework built around possessions and efficiency, or if they are relying on structure without intent. Most of the time, especially when teams are uneven in individual talent, what shows up on the floor is not analytics-driven basketball. Let's start on the defensive end. The first thing I look for is ball pressure and passing lane denial. If nobody is shrinking the floor, if reversals are wide open, and if passes are uncontested, especially to the opponent's top scorers, then everyone is guarding the same way. And that is what I call reactive defense. At this level, reactive defense is not enough. Defense has to have intent, a mathematical purpose, and the objective is simple. Take the ball out of the hands of the best scorers and the main point guard to lower the opponent's points per possession. If those two things are not being prioritized, then the defense has no identity. If the primary ball handler, point guard, is allowed to walk the ball up, organize spacing, control tempo, and freely reverse the ball, the defense is already losing the possession. Point guards should not be comfortable. They should be pushed off their spots. Reverse passes should be denied. Entry timing should be disrupted. The goal is to force the opponent to play off their preferred rhythm, balance, and options. Instead, what often happens is the ball handler dictates everything. There is very little emphasis on sustained pressure. Teams talk about pressure defense, but apply it only in short bursts, usually when they are trying to come back late in the game. If that approach is effective in cutting into a lead in the final minutes, the question becomes why it is not applied throughout the game. What I observe instead is a lack of collective urgency to regain possession of the ball immediately after it is lost, or to speed the opponent up and disrupt offensive flow after turnovers or long rebounds, when the offense is most unbalanced. This connects directly to rebounding. If you pressure the ball, contest shots, and force non-scorers into primary scoring roles, rebounding margins should shift in the defense's favor, but that only matters if players hit and hold box outs and secure the rebound. Too often, good defensive pressure still results in a second chance basket because the rebound was not controlled. The biggest defensive breakdown is the lack of denial on key passes. Every predictable and patterned offensive strategy has one or two passes that keep the offense in flow, balanced, and efficient. Those passes have to be identified and denied. When the ball is allowed to be swung side to side without resistance, possessions are extended and the offense controls tempo. While the opponent has the ball, you cannot score. When a team with better shooters is allowed to control possession and explore their best scoring options, the outcome becomes predictable. This is where defense and offense meet. When you do not deny key passes defensively, you allow the opponent to stay comfortable, keep balance, and control possession. When you then run predictable actions offensively, you allow that same opponent to stay comfortable on the other end. This becomes even more critical in away games, where an analytics-driven game plan is often the only way to take the opponent out of their comfort zone and neutralize home court advantages. Offensively, I see the same problem regardless of competition level. Most teams are running similar half-court actions, similar spacing, and similar reads. That creates predictability. And predictability always favors teams with superior individual talent because it allows them to play within their comfort zone. A true analytics-driven offense is not about running sets. It is about controlling possessions, shot volume, and shot quality. One of the main goals should be producing more shot attempts than the opponent. That comes from pace, offensive rebounding with purpose, and eliminating empty possessions. The offense should also be used to target the opponent's best scorers defensively. If an opponent is trying to protect those players from foul trouble, the offensive approach has to force them to defend anyway. That means creating situations where they cannot be hidden, where they are involved in the action, and where the offense can attack and draw early fouls. Transition offenses should not be patterned or predictable. It should be positionless. That is what I have advocated for throughout my career. In positionless transition offense, the lane belongs to whoever gets there first. That removes predictability and forces defenders to guard outside their physical characteristics and away from their comfort zones. From full court into the half court, the flow of the ball and player movement has to be continuous. Spacing and attacking angles have to matter. What I usually see instead is the offense slowing down, settling into the same patterned and predictable actions that most teams rely on. When this happens, the offense slows down and falls back into the same patterned and predictable actions. Possessions lose purpose, and the game shifts back to individual talent rather than smart, data-driven play. What I have observed in most games I analyze is a lack of analytics guiding how teams actually play on both ends of the floor. When I see these patterned and predictable styles of play, it tells me there is no true analytics-driven game plan in place. The game turns into a shooting contest instead of a strategic contest driven by the numbers that can tilt the game and eliminate or reduce individual talent and home court advantage. This is what happens when teams use strategies that are not guided by analytics. The game becomes predictable, the opponent stays comfortable, and control shifts away from analytics intent and purposeful decision making. In the end, the difference comes down to control. Who controls the ball, who controls possessions, and who controls point production to a level that makes the opponent beatable and eliminates individual talent advantage. When that control is missing, individual talent and home court advantage decide the game long before the final minutes. Well, coaches, that wraps up today's episode. If you need further clarification on any of the topics discussed, I am available for follow-up conversations online, as well as through in-person clinics and consulting. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I appreciate you as our valued guest and look forward to having you with us on the next episode of the Coach C Basketball Analytics Podcast.